Okay, I'm going to go ahead and install the deck now. What I'm going to do is stand right on top of the mower deck, lift up the front of the tractor, and roll it onto the deck. If you're strong enough and able, this is pretty easy. But if you feel like you're going to have problems with your back or whatever, get a friend and then lift it from the side and roll it onto the deck. The tractor is so light, it's really not that big of a deal, but you still want to take precautions and not hurt yourself. Okay, now that the deck is on, first thing I'm going to do is try to get the belt in place. So the belt runs, make sure you've got it in the pulleys. Here's the tensioner, here's the idler. Make sure that's all lined up. And then what we got to do is get it snaked up around this pulley here. First I got to take loose the belt guide, swing that out of the way, and then I'll have plenty of room to get the belt on. It takes a 13 mil and it's easily accessible from the back of the tractor. Okay, now let's try to get that belt on. Okay, the belt's installed. It took a little bit of time because it's a tight fit on the back side of this pulley. What I had to do is get it started on this side and then pull from this side from the back of the tractor, and it went on. But it's pulled out of its proper position on these pulleys, so I'll just get it snaked back in there. I left this belt guide loose so that I could move it around in case I had to. That back on the tensioner. I think that's a start. I don't think it'll come back out of there. I think it's okay for now. So the next step is, I think, to put the front draft arms on. Make sure the deck is all the way back so it clears this linkage. This linkage here. If you have trouble, steer the tractor all the way to the right, and that gives more clearance on that bar there until it touches the tire. And then this kind of moves around, so it's not too bad. So I'm going to go ahead and lift this up. Roll the deck forward. Forward the tractor backwards. Get the pinhole lined up. So here's the pin for the draft arms. So there's a hole right here for a hairpin. I went ahead and put a line on the head of the pin so that I know about where the hole is, because when I install the hairpin, it's kind of a blind install. It's really tough to see. Go ahead and get the hairpin put in here. So the hairpin is it goes between the bar and this bracket right here. It's kind of tough. Then I'll go ahead and do the other side. All right, now I'm going to put on the PTO linkage. Slides right in the slot, just like that, for the tensioner. There's a couple washers. One on the top, one on the bottom. Whoop, let's try that again. Okay. One on the bottom, and then the hairpin holds it together. There we go. All right, I'm going to install the lift linkage first. So I got to get this guy all the way down here. Now what I'm going to do is go over to the lever and lower it all the way down. First, I'm going to slide the deck as far to the machine's left as I can so that that lift linkage will clear it. It's not moving much because the front draft arms are attached. Down a little more. Okay, that's down as far as it's going to go, so I got to try to lift it up and get the thing installed. Okay, so I had to lift and push back. Okay, so the deck should be installed. I think what I'm going to do is just kind of test it, raise and lower, and then check the blade engagement and make sure that's good. And then I got to tighten down the idler in the back. I left the belt guide loose on that, and I got to tighten the belt guide for the mower deck in the back too. All right, I'm going to go ahead and check the blade engagement. Pull the PTO activation lever forward. Okay, seems plenty tight. I think that looks pretty good there. And now I'm going to leave it engaged, and then I'm going to adjust the belt guides and tighten them down. All right, got that adjusted, so there's just a bit of clearance there. I think it's adjusted properly. I see wear marks right here, but I don't think the last belt was installed correctly. I could be wrong. I'm going to monitor this and see what happens, but I think it's okay. If it starts flying off, then I'll know that I did it wrong. All right, I'm going to check this thing out, make sure it goes up and down correctly. Okay, I'm pretty happy with that. All right, I'm going to go ahead and try to level the deck on this GX75. And I went right to the web and looked at the OMM, the Owner's Maintenance Manual. And what it said was to prep the mower, make sure the tire pressures are good. 10 psi front, 14 psi rear. I've done that. It said to set the deck height to 2.5. I've done that. For front to rear leveling, have the blade facing front and rear. I was able to sight down the back of the mower because this one is nose down so much. I could see I got my blade running front to rear perfectly. So I'm going to go ahead and measure it. And what you got to do is measure the front tip of the blade and the rear tip of the blade. And they have to be within 1/4 inch of each other. So the rear has to be 0 to 1/4 inch higher than the front. I'm just eyeballing this and I can see it's really way off, but I'm going to go ahead and measure it and see what I get. This is really hard to do on camera. Okay, so the rear is right at 2.5 inches. Now let's check the front. about 1.25 inches on the front. So this thing is significantly nose down. It's off, at least an inch, maybe inch to 1.25 inches. It's nose down. So I've got to try to bring the nose up, if anything. But the instructions indicate that you can only raise and lower the rear of the deck. So that means I got to lower the rear. And if I do that, when the deck is set at 2.5 inches, the lever won't mean 2.5 inches anymore. It'll mean something else. So I'm going to give it a shot, see what happens here. Okay, so to make adjustments, the mechanism is down here. What we've got to do is loosen these 3 nuts. These are 13 mil, I believe, and then rotate this cam nut, which is a 1 1/8 size socket. Rotate that back and forth to raise and lower the rear of the deck. So we rotate this until we get a height we want. So it kind of looks like, well, I'm not sure how that's going to go. So I'm going to loosen these 3 and start rotating that and see what happens. All right, it's pretty clear to me these have never been touched. They were just about seized. I wasn't able to loosen that middle one, but it's turning the cam anyway as I try to turn this nut. So I'm going to use that to try to make the adjustment. Otherwise, it's an 1 1/8 socket to rotate that cam nut. Maybe a little heat, some lubricant would have helped, but I think I'm at a point of no return now. Okay, I was finally able to free this nut up and rotate the cam. And what I learned is when you rotate it clockwise, it actually raises the front of the deck. The instructions say it raises and lowers the rear, but it really just pulls on the front of the deck and raises and lowers the front of the deck. So I'm going to rotate it fully clockwise until I'm out of adjustment and see where that lands it. So I'll get it set there, and then I'll tighten these down so that it doesn't move. It moves quite a bit. Okay, right there is fully nose up, I'm pretty sure. Give it a little bit more. Okay, now I'm going to lock it down. Okay, I've made all my adjustments, and what I ended up doing was making the deck go nose up as far as I could. And it really wasn't about clockwise or counterclockwise. It was about the position of this stud right here. It's an eccentric, right? So the farther back to the rear of the mower that this stud is, the higher the nose of your deck. So my final measurements are 2.5 inches in the rear and 2 inches in the front. Not optimal, but that's as good as it's going to get. Short of maybe readjusting the front linkage somehow, I don't know. I'm going to guess that it's just wear. All the little points, pivot points, and locations that anything that rotates or moves has got wear in it. So naturally, the front of the deck tries to sag down. When this thing was brand new, it was probably perfect, but over time, over lots of years of use, it's just fallen out of adjustment. There is a side-to-side adjustment, and I'm not going to address that, but you have the same kind of setup on the front of the deck. Right here, you've got locking nuts here, 1, 2, 3, and then a cam nut, and that is supposed to adjust the side to side. Initially, when I saw this, I thought maybe it raised and lowered the front, but apparently it's a side to side change. So this side goes up and down, the other side stays stationary. And it's like, I think it's the same thing. It's like a 1/4 inch side to side. I don't even know if I'm going to check it. If I see something weird in the grass when I do my test mow, and then I might look at it, but otherwise I'm not going to touch it. Next for this guy is a test mow. I'm going to take it out and see if it'll cut some grass.